My name is Khurram Asif, and I represent GMG Group in Dubai for all their operations with regards to mortgages, asset financing in Dubai. Uh, as everybody knows, Dubai opened up the freehold market for properties about 20 years ago. That's when they started foreign ownership for properties, which in simple terms means that any foreign national from any part of the world can purchase a property in Dubai. It comes with 100% ownership. It's not leasehold at all. It's completely freehold, and it can go on from one family member to another and to another and so on. While launching the freehold market, Dubai also introduced something called freehold mortgages from all their local and international banks that operate here. Primarily, we used to have only non-freehold mortgages, which applied to the UAE nationals, the nationals of the country only, who could buy property here or construct properties. But as of today, where we stand, 90% of the buyers and the residents of Dubai are foreigners. They're all foreigners who've come from any and all part of the world, purchase properties here, either on cash and then have an option to remortgage it, or either they purchase part cash, part mortgage options. Getting a mortgage in Dubai is really very simple. And as we go along this journey with GMG, you'll realize that we make it even much more simpler for anyone to buy a property in Dubai with a mortgage. In simple terms, a mortgage can be applied to any ready asset in Dubai. It could be a plot of land, it could be an apartment, could be a villa, townhouse, it could be an entire tower, it could be a floor in a building that you purchase for investment, it could even be a shopping mall. As long as there's a real asset involved, there are banks in Dubai from which GMG can arrange a mortgage facility for you. Now let's get briefly into what kind of mortgages are available here. We primarily started with conventional mortgages, which again in simple terms is the sort of mortgages that work all over the world, be it the UK, the US, Canada, so on. But keeping in mind the user habitat here and the sort of background most of the end users were coming from, Dubai banks introduced also something called Islamic mortgages. So what we have today in Dubai on a menu is basically an option to take a conventional mortgage or an Islamic mortgage. All the Dubai banks offer both options, and even international banks like HSBC, Standard Chartered, the likes, all offer both these options. There's not a lot of difference in the modulus of the mortgage or the product parameters. There's a bit of technicalities on either side based on which the user decides what kind of mortgage he wants. At the end of the day, what's important is it is really simple to acquire a mortgage in Dubai, and it makes complete business and feasible sense to go ahead and buy a property with a mortgage. Who can get a mortgage in Dubai? Now, obviously, primarily it applies to the UAE nationals. Secondly, it applies to residents. And most importantly, and one of the main reasons for the property market to be doing so well here is any non-resident from any part of the world can also avail a mortgage in Dubai. Now, when I say non-residents, I'm not merely speaking about people who don't live in Dubai or don't have an employment or a residence visa. When it comes to banking, a bank categorizes a client as a resident or non-resident based on where they draw their primary income. So a client could have a UAE visa, a Dubai visa, because he's got a consulting company here and he visits Dubai 5-6 times a year. He has a residence visa based on that company, but he would still not qualify for a resident mortgage if his primary or main income is in another country, any other country of the world. So if you want to qualify for a resident mortgage, you have to have income that you draw in Dubai and gets credited to a bank in Dubai. not outside UAE. It should be a bank in the UAE, the United Arab Emirates. If your income, no matter how great or high it is, if it is in the UK or Northern Africa, India, Singapore, any other country, you would always be given a non resident mortgage. Now, that's not such a bad deal in any case, because if you look at the similarities in both these categories, as a resident, I can get up to 85%, 85% finance on the property value that's evaluated by a bank. So no matter how great the price is or how great the deal is that you stumble upon with your realtor, any bank will always do their own inspection and evaluation by an impaneled evaluator. And whatever value the bank arrives at, they will lend you, they will lend me as a resident 85% on that. Now, as a non resident, if I was to come to Dubai as a non resident and say my income is all in the UK and I just want to buy a property in Dubai, I can still avail up to 75% of the bank evaluated value. So if you look at it, it's only 10% less than a resident, which is a great deal, which is a great stimulant, and one of the major catalysts which has led to this great property boom in Dubai. Now, what are the exact interest rates right now? It's no secret to anyone who's following the industry that from the second quarter of this year, interest rates went up in most of the primary and major markets of the world. And from the last month, which is October, we now stand at somewhere close to 4% for residents and approximately 5%, starting 5% for non-residents. So again, a difference of 1%. On the financing bit, there's a difference of 10%, and on the rates, approximately 1%. Now, a major question that comes up in anyone's mind is, why should we buy a property in Dubai? Why should we buy a property and mortgage it in Dubai when we can do the same thing in the UK? We can do the same in London or Paris, maybe even New York. Why do we buy it in Dubai? This has a lot of scientific and technical reasons. Like I mentioned at the beginning of the video, primarily this is a complete freehold market, 100% ownership, not 99 years, not 999 years, 100 years, 100%, 100% ownership. Secondly, you're sitting in one of the biggest tax-free havens of the world. We have absolutely zero income tax in Dubai. No hidden charges, no hidden costs here and there, nothing of the sort. Whatever anyone earns in this country is completely free of any kind of income tax, which means as a landlord, if I buy a property in Dubai, whether I'm a resident or a non-resident, if I buy a property in Dubai and I rent it out as an investment to a tenant, I pay zero tax on the rental income of my property. The entire rental comes to my account, which is a really, really big factor when you compare it to any other major city of the world. And last but not least, not the financial aspect, but let's put it more like it's a life aspect. Dubai is one of the safest cities in the world, the safest places in the world to be in. And this is not something that is just, marketed by Dubai. This is something acknowledged by the UN. This is something acknowledged by international bodies that do surveys, international bodies that look at statistics of crime rates, statistics of people who can live, walk around and sleep peacefully. And Dubai easily ranks in the top 3 places in the world which are safest. And when it comes to safety of women, Dubai is the number 1 place, which is absolutely, without a doubt, safe for women. You might think when it comes to matters like property purchasing or mortgages and investments, why am I talking about these things? Well, the thing is, at the end of the day, whether you're an end user who's buying a property to live there himself, or if you're an investor who lives in Germany, for example, or lives in Tunisia, and you decide to just buy an apartment and rent it out as an investor, if the place isn't safe or if the demographics are not as high or as diverse as they are in Dubai, who would you rent your place out to? You would either be suffering from no tenant or you'd be suffering from low rents. That's why matters like safety and accessibility, digital life, cleanliness, hygiene, things that we all take for granted, but things that are equally essential to us as much as investments. Those are all available in Dubai. Because of the fact that we don't have income tax, hence mortgage calculations, amortizations, approval processes are much simpler than they would be in any country where there are federal taxes or state governed taxes, income taxes. You need to check your tax filings, your ABCs of how much money you made as opposed to how much is actually coming to your account, excuse me, before a bank would decide to lend to you. In Dubai, it's fairly straightforward. If you're working as an employee with one of the category A or B companies, if you're earning about $10,000 a month, which is the bare minimum to start with at Dubai, the mortgage bank's calculations are really straightforward and simple because there's not much room or there's not much area for speculation on how much you earn as opposed to how much is actually coming to your account and how much you would pay back. That is why mortgages in Dubai is one of the most simplest and easiest ways to go about things. Approval timings. Now, primarily, initially, we used to have 24 hours to 48 hours approvals. We've approved cases even as early as that. But given the last few months after the recent situations, geographic factors that have led more and more investors to fly down into Dubai overnight and purchase properties, now our approval timings have gone from 2 or 3 days to 2 weeks minimum. So we take about 2 weeks minimum for a resident approval. But obviously, during those 2 weeks, the GMG team keeps updating you, giving you feelers on your application, keeps giving you some sort of direction as to where your application is going. For non residents, you can add in another week because there are additional checks to be done. The client doesn't live in the country. Even if he does live in the country, he earns outside, his income is outside, so the bank has to do some more due diligence. So 2 to 3 weeks for a non-resident to get approvals. This is one of the major reasons also why everyone has started buying property in Dubai. Because the traditional way of buying property with a mortgage was people would leave home on a weekend, the man and the missus would leave home, go out, look for a property, do some viewings, meet a few dozen agents, decide on something they like, and then contact their local bank or contact a consultant or contact a renowned team like GMG and ask us, what are my mortgage options? I saw a villa on the weekend for 5 million dirhams. How much can you lend me on that? And over how many years can I pay back? Given the current situation, the wise way to go about things is we tell our clients first to apply for a mortgage before they even set out to look for a property. It makes complete analytical sense because you're not going to go venture into the market to buy a property until you know your net worth or until you know your actual eligibility. So it makes complete sense. It saves the seller's time. It from disappointment, saves your time, your family's time from putting your hopes up about a property that you may not be able to afford. So what we advise our clients is, could you give us your documents and please go ahead with your mortgage pre-approval. We would analyze your case. We would look at the numbers. We would look at the numbers. We would give you some feelers on what's going on with your finances, how much the bank can lend you, how much as opposed to the property and the capital gain you would pay in the next few years, ABC, things like that. It's very simple. To give a simple example, it's like walking into a mall to purchase something with a gift card or a credit card where you know your credit limit, as opposed to going window shopping in the mall, putting your mind and heart on something and then deciding that you can't afford it. It just makes more sense and is the best use of everybody's time because the Dubai market is growing really fast. The property prices are increasing, well, in all the major cities, Dubai included. And if you have a mortgage approval, a pre approval in hand, your purchase and your negotiation just becomes so much smarter. Now, when it comes to ROI, right moment Dubai on residentials is having one of the highest ROI, return on investment, as compared to any major city. We bring in anything between 6 to 8% ROI. And keep in mind, we don't pay any taxes on it whatsoever. It all comes to the landlord's account. And even after you do take in consideration things like service fees or community charges, you're still on the upper side when compared to London or Paris. This I'm referring to is long-term rentals, a one-year lease or a two-year lease. Dubai, being a very, very popular tourist destination, is also very, very famous for short term rentals. In the last 5 years, at least hundreds of short term rental companies have sprouted in Dubai. And today, a landlord, an owner of a property, can choose to lease or rent out his property on long term basis or on weekly, monthly, quarterly basis. Short term rentals in Dubai right now mark in somewhere between 13 to 16% ROI, which is a crazy number if you compare it to any other major place in around the world. Again, no income tax, no government taxes on this, no hidden charges anywhere. Even with regards to your mortgage, all you pay when you apply for a mortgage, when you go for a mortgage through GMG Group, the one-time fees that you pay is the pre-approval fee, which is a worldwide thing with any bank, irrespective of whether you're approved or declined. It's a non-refundable fee, but obviously we don't just take your money and throw it into the pool. We review your documents. Our analysts go through your bank statements, they go through your finances, your credit reports if required, and we give you some sort of direction on what or when your approval would come out. Once we've got your approval, it's valid in Dubai. An approval is valid for 60 days usually. In some cases, the bank gives it for 30 days, depending on the client's profile, perhaps a certain cautious demographic the bank is looking at. But generally, it's 60 days. Once you have your 60 days pre-approval, you're at will to go out and finalize the best property that suits you and your family, budget-wise, location-wise, pricing. When you inform us that you found your dream property, we then send the bank analyst and evaluator to go and inspect your property. We send them to go and inspect your property and give us their own valuation on what they think the property value would be. Once we cross that stage, we come to the last stage, which is the mortgage contract legal document signatures. So in the net timeline of your mortgage application from start to finish is about 4 to 6 weeks. 4 to 6 weeks, given that everything goes fine, your credit report has no red flags, you find the right property in time, etc. This is how your property purchase journey can be made easy with a mortgage consultant. All you have to do is get online with us, give us your requirement, tell us a bit about your budget, keeping in mind what your down payment would be. Because in our first discussion, we would give you a very clear indication on how much finance a bank could lend you, depending on your resident or non-resident, depending on whether you work in a salaried profile or you're self-employed, depending also on your existing liabilities, which might have some leverage already on your income. Once that first discussion is clear with us, then you'll have complete clarity on what your budget can be. For example, if you were to get on a mortgage discussion with me, and at the end of that, I told you that on a property of 5 million dirhams, we can lend you approximately 3.5 million. It's evident right away that you need to have at least 1.5 million dirhams with you for the property down payment, plus another 100,000 dirhams you could keep handy for the one-time charges of the bank, property registration with the government, service fees, things like that. At that stage, if you realize that you don't have this 1.5 million, or you just have 1 million dirhams to bring to the table, automatically your search becomes more refined and your process becomes smarter. Instead of wasting time on a 5 million property, we then start looking at 4 million or 4.2 million, just so that everything comes together and all the numbers add up. There's much more that I can tell you about this in another session, uh, where I can even give you examples of some of the key locations in Dubai. Basically, Dubai is divided into two sorts of key locations: investors areas and end user areas. We can discuss the investment areas in my next video, where I can tell you a bit about the popular destinations, the popular locations where all the overseas investors are buying. Even residents are buying, and they're bringing in really good ROI. We can have some case studies, maybe a live example of 2 or 3 properties that are recently mortgaged, and show you evidence of what kind of rental income they're bringing in. And eventually we can move from that to end user neighborhoods to tell you how you can make your home in Dubai, how you can purchase a end user home here, come in with your family and live here, all with the assistance of GMG mortgages. Thank you very much for watching today, and good luck with your search.